Hello and welcome to Kvikmyndapod, an Icelandic cinema podcast. I'm Rob Watts, and together with my good friend Ellie Cawthorne, we journey through the landscape of 21st century Icelandic film. This time, we've convened to discuss a film buried deep in the hard winter soil of Amazon Prime Video, Kuldi, or Cold, from 2023. A welcome relief from the summer heat of real life. Erlingur Thoroddsen's horror-tinged thriller stars a bunch of fantastic familiar faces and is based on a novel by one of my favourite Icelandic writers, Ersa Sigurðardóttir. With a pervading sense of creeping dread and excellent visuals, this is definitely one to check out before listening to our chat. Hi Ellie.
Hi Rob.
How's it going?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Excited for the World Cup, which starts tonight.
Did Iceland make it into the World Cup this year?
They did not.
Oh, unlucky.
Sorry, Iceland. I did get Portugal in my sweepstake thing, so that's exciting.
Well, if there's no Iceland in it, we're not interested.
Nah. Iceland TV, though, there's plenty out there to watch. One of the things I did watch recently was The Darkness. I can't remember if I mentioned this last time, based on the Ragnar Johanneson books, which was good, not great.
Okay, The Darkness is such one of those generic thriller TV show titles, like Cold. The film we're watching today.
It's so true. I know maybe the translation could be better. I mean, certainly the film we're talking about today wasn't called Cold when it was released as a book. But The Darkness, as far as I know, was The Darkness. But the TV show, it's on Channel 4 if you want to watch it. It's decent, procedural, a little bit dark. And it made me read the rest of the Ragnar Johanneson Ari Thor books, which get progressively better. His writing style gets better over the series. So.
See, that's intriguing. It's not many book series that get better over them. They usually get worse.
Do you think?
Well, TV shows definitely, series, but...
That's true. I'm not sure there'll be a Darkness 2 on TV. Anyway, that's enough books and TV. We're here to discuss films. And like you said, we're going to be discussing a film called Cold, which was released in 2023. The Icelandic title, of course, is Kuldi, meaning cold. And it's based on an Ersa Sigurðardóttir book, which was published in this country as The Undesired, which sort of, it's a cooler title, I would have said.
Yeah, I'd say it's a cooler title and less generic.
Way less generic. Although I guess, and we'll get into this, but like the word cold could relate to a bunch of things in this film, I suppose.
Yeah, I wanted to hear your take on what it does mean.
Oh, really? Okay, well, we'll get to it. So this is the second Ersa Sigurðardóttir adaptation we've covered on the podcast. Can you remember I Remember You?
I can remember I Remember You, but only lightly, but it felt very similar thematically to this. And I'll give my take later on which I thought was better.
Okay, looking forward to that. Thinking of I Remember You, actually, its main actor was Johannes Haukur Johanneson, who we've got as the central character here as well.
Yeah, so there's a lot of resonances, or feels almost like repeats.
A little bit, yeah. I did read something where about the film where the director was saying how it would be quite cool to have had him playing the same character, which actually would have made this film feel a bit more like a continuation rather than just like a copy almost of I Remember You. But anyway, he's a big star these days, Johannes Haukur Johanneson. I think we saw him in Reykjavik, Rotterdam, ages ago. But this year, out right now, he's in Masters of the Universe, the He-Man film.
Oh, okay.
So his career is getting big, you know. And alongside him, we've got Ellen Hatt, who we've seen a couple of times, who we love. Let Me Fall When the Light Breaks. And we'll get into the rest of the cast as we go. But this was directed by Erlingur Can you remember that one? Just say yes.
Yes.
Great. That was a ghost story as well, of sorts. If you can remember, cast your mind back to 3 years ago or whenever it was. We're in a cabin in the wilderness.
Yes.
And there's a guy who's broken up with his ex, and, is there a ghost? Is there not a ghost? What's going on?
So, I mean, is there a ghost? Is there not a ghost? It's a pertinent question for this film as well.
Very much, yeah. It's really interesting. This film, it's marketed, and it certainly feels very ghostly. Everything is sort of haunted. There, it's all dark corners and opening and creaky doors and windows and blowing curtains and, eerie noises and doors slamming and all sorts of things like that, isn't it? But it's a crime thriller.
Yeah, exactly. A psychological thriller, perhaps.
That's a good term for it. So in order to explain what we're actually going to be talking about, I will do a quick synopsis. Now, because this film is quite complicated with multiple narratives too, this is quite a bad synopsis. But...
Oh, okay. I'll pick it apart, don't worry.
Oh, please do, yeah. Okay. In the present, Odin and his teenage daughter Run are grieving their recently deceased mother. Odin, who is some sort of detective in Reykjavik, is tasked with investigating 2 suspicious deaths at a home for wayward boys in the 1980s, while Run is being bullied at school and both are trying to avoid her grandmother. In the 1980s, a young girl called Aldis begins working at said junior detention centre run by awful human beings Lilia and Vega. While there, she meets the new boy Einar, experiences ghostly goings-on, and basically wonders why she took the job in the first place. It quickly becomes clear that perhaps the deaths of the 2 boys and Odin's wife are connected, and over the course of the film, everyone has a bad time.
Everyone has a bad time. I mean, yeah, that about sums it up without going into too many spoilers, which I'm sure we will later.
I know, yeah. I mean, it's funny. I try and avoid the spoilers at this point, but, 2 seconds' time, we are delving deep into the spoilers. Let's start then. I guess we should start with the present and with Odin.
Herðu, hvað veistu vistheimili Krók?
Krókur, drengjaheimili, smákrimmar undir lögaldri sem voru sendir þarna. Hvað málið?
Ég fikk skemmtilegt síntal fyrir helgi frá fréttastofu RÚV. Þeir virðast vera bara að taka fyrir öllu sem meðferðarheimili og hlaut bara að koma að Króki. En bara við verðum núna að hafa staðreyndirnar á hreinu áður en þessi besserwissar að fara að fylla í þarnar. Við litum nógu djöfulli illa út síðast.
Man það enginn.
Ég man það. Krókur snúið mál. 2 strákar dóu þarna. Það var úrskurðað sem slys. Það var ekki eitthvað gruggt í það?
Eftir þessi dauðsföll 1984, það var bara öllu lokað. Húsið er búið að standa autt síðan.
Viltu vera að káfa hann í þetta?
Ég hef alveg skoðað svona mál áður.
Ég veit. Það er þess vegna sem ég spyr.
Tell me about Odin. What did you make of his character? What's he doing, and why is he doing it?
Okay, so one thing I thought about this whole film, which maybe ties into your question about what I thought about his character, was it was quite lightly sketched, and it feels a bit like a show that you would get on ITV in 3 parts on a Sunday night.
High praise.
Do you know what? There's a time and a place for them, and I have a soft spot for an ITV crime drama, sure. I will say. So Odin, I'm not sure that we got a lot of meat on the bones for him. He's a kind of detective, but it's not really explained what kind. It's just like, hey, you look into this case.
Yeah, he's not obviously a police officer. There's some sort of suggestion that he works for like social care, like strand of the government. I don't know, but
somebody who can just have a reason to look into this. And we get this hint that he has, an alcoholic backstory, perhaps.
Yeah.
But again, it's very lightly touched, and I didn't feel like I got a lot of a sense of who he was beyond the troubled detective trope.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's fair to say. We know that he is father to a 13-year-old daughter, Run, who herself has issues.
That's saying something.
Yes, most people in this film have issues. I've got a note here that literally just says everyone is messed up in some way. Maybe her issues are because of her dad and her mum. So the film opens, and I mentioned this in the synopsis, with Odin's wife and Run's mother, Laura, falling to her death from their apartment.
Odin's ex-wife, right?
Sorry, yes, that's quite crucial detail. They're obviously not together anymore, and Run is now living with Dad. But it turns out his wife, Laura, is or was also a drunk, and maybe this has something to do with why Run is so messed up. It's never really clear. So that's the family at the core of this sort of present day story. There's no real mystery as far as we can tell. We're shown shots of Run watching her mum fall to her death from inside their apartment. We know that Odin sort of regrets not having been around. And we also know that the grandmother, which was Laura's mother, is a presence, but no one really wants to spend any time with her. She seems like she's just getting in the way. And she's played by Halldóra Geirharðsdóttir, who we know, who we love.
Always a classic.
Yeah. So, yeah, this particular strand, I guess the main sort of driving of the plot is what happened to these boys and Odin investigating it. But the actual drama here comes from the family dynamics.
I mean, obviously we find out a bit later that the two timelines have something more in common than it first appears. But I did think that maybe that connection, the parallels between the two storylines didn't hugely work for me.
Okay.
They didn't feel like really enmeshed. And I was probably less interested in the contemporary timeline.
Okay.
Which were you more into?
I think there was certainly more meat to the story from the past. Like, it's actually a bit of a mystery, whereas what we're seeing in the present feels like just a messed up family going through grief. And the film does its best as we go on to suggest that, yes, they're involved. These two stories are somehow connected. But it's really by the by, actually, because Odin's doing one thing, and it just so happens that, yeah, they're connected. I'd probably agree. And to be honest, I wasn't hugely into it, but mostly because I prefer the actual stuff that feels scary and there are genuinely nasty characters in the second plot. So should we talk about that briefly as well then?
Yes.
Læðist og felur sig svarti skugginn minn. Hann ætlar sér að éta mig ef ég hleypi honum inn.
So this investigation that Odin is conducting is about this not care home. I don't really know what you're supposed to call it because it's not juvie, is it? It's
yeah, what would you call it?
It's just a home for
troubled boys.
Yeah, which we see.
Well, is it boys who are in care, or is it the inference is that it's boys who've done crimes, right?
Yeah, I think someone mentions like petty theft
yeah,
and
because
stuff.
of course the Einar is in there when he should be in jail. Yeah, sorry.
That's it. So it's one of those things we see quite a lot in Icelandic pop culture, this sort of harking back to a time when children were not looked after. They're supposedly in these either, adoptive foster homes or in these juvenile detention center places, but no one ever looks after them. And most of the current contemporary cold cases, I suppose, have something to do with these homes. One of the TV series, The Valhalla Murders, is centered around abuse going on in one of these homes. So it's quite a common theme we see. But here, it's not why they're there that's the kind of main story either. It's sort of weird. We've got Aldis, this young girl who goes to work at this place, and we're supposed to understand that she is trying to save up money to go and live her life better than it could have been. So she turns up. It's run by horrible people. The boys are getting slapped and pulled by their ear and verbally abused and locked in rooms. Like, there's no way these guys did anything that bad to deserve it. Certainly not from the sort of one scene we get where they smile at Aldis or, run their finger across their throat. And so it's already like a really nasty place to be. So from my kind of horror-loving perspective, this is where things are way more interesting, because this is not a nice place.
Yeah, but did you think it's somehow a bit of a cliche? The kind of God-fearing disciplinarians who are really cruel, but also there wasn't really any. I didn't think there was a lot of nuance, or when from the moment you were introduced to this house or correctional facility or whatever you want to call it, it was like, this is terrible, and then it stayed terrible. There wasn't any kind of like, oh, maybe I'll go work here, see what it's like. Oh, these guys seem nice. Oh wait, there's something dark underneath. It was like, no, they're terrible. Okay, that's it. They're terrible.
Yeah, I suppose.
It didn't really go anywhere, I guess is my point.
No, I guess what we do learn is why they might be terrible people. Because we learn that a bunch of girls have turned up. They've not stayed long for reasons that aren't quite clear. It sounds like Lilja, the lady who cuts her legs and hates everybody, scares them off. But it could also be because Vega, her husband, I guess, is abusing the girls.
Predatory.
There's a suggestion it might have been more than just touching creepily. And I guess the backstory about them having a child and it not surviving, is that supposed to be like a reason for why they're so horrible? Or
I didn't think so. I thought it was that they were always horrible, and that's why. So the story is that then they have had a baby, there's something wrong with the baby, and then they have buried this baby alive, which I get. So again, to my point, which I guess I would take to mean they were already quite terrible people. That's not the thing that made them terrible. But also to my point about it kind of starting at 10 and then not going and not having nowhere to go, there's a point at which it's suggested that this happened, and there's like a story like, oh, they had a baby and they killed it. And then it's like, I thought there was going to be some kind of twist of like, no, that actually wasn't the case, and it was somebody else, and it was a cover up for blah, blah, blah. And it would unravel to be something else. It was some kind of added mystery. But then it was like, oh yeah, no, that did just happen.
Yeah, okay. But, right, so the baby was born. I'm pretty sure Lilja didn't want it to be buried alive. And that's Vega himself. Like, either way, it's terrible. And I don't know why I'm trying desperately to think of excuses for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're digging a hole there.
I know, it's all very bad. But I guess what that point is saying is it's informing why Lilja is then trying to keep Aldis at the house at the end of the film because she wants a baby of her own.
Yeah.
I wonder whether any of the girls who had been there previously had got pregnant.
But again, I don't think, that could have been developed, couldn't it? That could have been maybe spun out into a bigger thread, but it was just quite quickly kind of dealt with and things moved on.
There is a lot going on and nothing, I suppose, gets quite the amount of time it needs to be explored.
Yeah. This is why I said it needs to be a 3-part ITV drama, Rob.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could do your own adaptation. I'm sure if you find the right company, Channel 5 will have it. Let's talk about Aldis then, because we don't really know why she decides to stay for as long as she does, other than she meets this new guy, Einar, who's older than all the other kids. I think he's 18, which is pretty old in comparison to the others. But they hit it off, moping around in the shed and have sex. And so Aldis ends up being pregnant. Lilia somehow knows. She just knows that she got pregnant.
That scene really annoyed me when she basically said, "What's up with you? You're pregnant." I'm like, how would you ever know that? Come on.
Yeah, that's a fair point. She just needed to be sure.
There wasn't even the movie tropes of somebody being like, "Oh, I've just got to go be sick in this bin. Oh, wait, you must be pregnant." Or, the other obvious ones that never happen in real life.
Mm-hmm. No, she just guessed. Or rather hoped, probably. And we'll get to that final 5-10 minutes in a minute. So all this time in the past, we've got Aldis sneaking around, scared, hating her life. It seems like something's going on. She thinks she's seen a ghost. She thinks she hears something tapping at her window.
So big question.
Yeah.
Does she?
Well, no. Now, what I really like about Yrsa Sigurðardóttir's books generally is certainly the non-crime procedural ones, like the standalone ones. She's really good at mixing that kind of ghostly horror with grounded in reality things. I feel like this story and the film specifically doesn't quite make you ever believe any of this stuff is real. So there are moments in both part plots for the film where people are seeing ghosts in inverted commas, or someone's running past the screen in a hoodie or in the dark, and there's the tapping on the window. And ultimately these things are all resolved in real world terms, like it was one of the boys running around.
So Scooby-Doo, if it wasn't for those meddling kids.
Well, 100%. Lilia's tapping on the window. In the present, I guess, it's a bit different. The characters there are suffering through their grief. They are haunted by the ghost of Laura. But there's the scene in the bin shed where somehow Odin gets locked in and he finds the dead cat. Now, you could say that is actually Laura's ghost pushing him into finding the threads that will lead to the truth coming out of her death. But other than that scene, it just feels like they were making it feel ghostly, but without actually there being any real supernatural elements to it, which I was fine with, but I would have liked a bit more nuance, I suppose.
Yeah, did you think that the ghostiness was well executed, though?
It feels there's a good sense of dread throughout.
Yeah.
Like the score, the haunting, like at one point, certainly when Laura's jumping, the haunting kind of music it's almost like a woman's scream. I think that works really well. The
dark basementy corridors in the 1980s plot.
Yeah.
I thought were well executed.
100%. And when Aldis, she closes the door to that storage room and the thing's about to fall off the shelf, you're like, shit. That's not supernatural, but it's a scary moment. And it has a good sense of creepiness. I just wish it had combined it with something that felt way more like it might be supernatural. But that might just be me as a horror fan wanting that to come out a bit more. I don't know. Were you happy with how it felt?
Yeah, I mean, I have, as a person that's watched lots of horror in the past and loves horror. I've been on a horror ban lately because having had a baby, I'm up all hours of the night. Not anymore, but I have been up at all hours of the night, creeping around my house in the dark. And I thought the last thing I need is to be thinking the bloody Babadooks in the corner. So I've thought, I'm not doing that. So do you know what this was? This was in an acceptable amount of spooky. I'd say it was lightly spooky.
Yeah.
And a bit jumpy, but it did not remotely haunt me at night.
Okay, well that's good. It's certainly got an audience then.
It's moderate spook.
I felt a bit bad watching it for the second time and then thinking, oh God, Ellie's just recently had a baby. This is not material for a...
Yeah, I have been avoiding baby death and murder plot lines generally.
Sorry.
So, the burying the baby alive is... But actually, do you know, I didn't find it too affecting, I guess. I didn't find it too troubling or disturbing. I mean, the concept of it is disturbing, but it's not really... It's all quite like done with a light touch. If you can do a burying a child alive plotline with a light touch.
I think you're right. I think that it's only the suggestion of what's happening and that little haunting cry of the baby is enough.
Yeah.
You don't need to see or hear anything more. But what I will say is from the book, you can really picture it a lot more, or I certainly did. And I can't remember if it goes into more detail about what's wrong with the baby, but in my mind, I had such a vivid image of Vhagar carrying a baby and burying it, and it was like, and this may come from my history of watching lots and lots of horror, but a prolonged scene of him burying in the cold, unable to bury this baby in the hard earth. That's probably not even in the book. That's probably just my mind, but I was glad this film didn't do that for your sake.
Yeah.
But I maybe could have done with something as gnarly as that. Maybe not that specifically. But yeah, I think it works well as a spooky film. I sort of just wish that there actually had been something supernatural going on. Because it is a crime psychological thriller, isn't it?
Yeah, because so in the 1980s timeline, any spooky elements are really just people creeping about, trying to freak other people out.
Yeah.
And then in the contemporary timeline, any spooky elements are, I would say, are kind of psychological manifestations of grief or kind of a detachment from reality.
That's so nicely put. I wish I could have explained it that simply. But yes, I think that's exactly it. And I guess so, what's the point of these two stories? The point is, ultimately, we've got 3 deaths to figure out the reasons for or how they happened. And it turns out that Run is messed up. She's messed up, and it's not necessarily just because her mum just died.
No, in fact, it definitely predates that. I mean, I think this is where I slightly ran out of patience, I think, a bit with this film, because so suddenly we have this girl who, we're on the side of, she's a victim, she's being bullied at school, but she's very seemingly normal. And then suddenly it flips and it turns out she was the psycho all along. And I just found that a little bit unrealistic. I mean, the whole thing is a bit unrealistic.
Well, yeah, it is interesting because the film does try to give the suggestion that...
You watched it twice. So the second time, did it get breadcrumbed?
Well, a little bit. I mean, there are things. The only actual main obvious... It's funny, this isn't even related to her being the killer. But there's a moment at the start where, she draws pictures that get increasingly messed up.
The classic child drawing violent images from every crime or horror film we've ever seen.
Although these ones aren't like fisted crayons, just like carved in. These are like actually really well drawn, but absolutely horrific images. But she there's a moment where she's like drawing and her dad goes, don't do that on top of the table. Put something or you'll mark it. I'm like, why has he said that? Obviously, it comes back and then he's like, the notebook. I should probably find out about markings in the notebook. Anyway, when I saw that the first time, I was like, that's obviously something. But with regards to her being the killer, there are a couple of moments. There's the moment where she explicitly just kills a bird
Yeah.
and takes a photo of it.
But that's a mercy killing.
Well, that's what she says about both of her parents too. Okay, the bird is that's the right thing to do. A bird is not going to get up and fly away. But she seems to enjoy it a little bit too much. Why is she taking a photo of it? That's weird. Okay? And I'm sure there's something else.
Creepy drawings and killing animals, the two classic signs of a psycho child, to be fair.
Well, exactly.
From media.
And this film, I think, is ultimately trying to say, it feels like anyway, that she is mentally ill or has some sort of issue, potentially a sociopath, because of her parents. There's a line from Aldis, who it turns out is the grandmother.
Yeah.
To no one's surprise. Where she says, oh, well, when she needed a hug, you didn't give her a hug, or something along the lines of, you need to be warmer to her, and she wouldn't have, because Aldis's mother was also ill and had these kind of visions of some dark shadow friend coming to kill her. And the suggestion from Aldis is that it skipped her, but it's in the family line. And because Run's parents weren't caring enough, that she's embraced this kind of awful side to her.
Yeah, I mean, I took it more, rather than the parents being to blame, I guess I saw it as, so in the 1980s timeline, when we found out that Aldis, future grandmother of Rune, has got pregnant by Einar.
Yeah.
But he then turns out to be quite a nasty piece of work. And I was thinking, is it the inference that her grandfather was a psycho, so that then it's passed down to her?
Well, that's a very good point. Yeah.
And I hadn't even thought about the great grandmother who is a psycho. So there's a lot in that family tree going on, isn't there?
Yeah. I think Run couldn't have escaped her genes if she tried, basically.
Þarfst ekki að vera svona hræddur. Sér þig enginn. Ertu viss? Veistu hvað það drepi sitt eigið barn? Hvað heldur að gera við mig? Af hverju segirðu það? Að þau hafa drepið sitt eigið barn? Að þau gerðu það. Það fæddist andvana. Drap enginn neitt. Jú, víst. Ég sá það. Ég var að vinna með Veigar út í hlöðu. En svo var hann sóttur því Lilja var að fæða. Það grét eftir hann setti það í gröfina og alveg þangað til að heyrðist ekki meira út á moldinu.
Okay, so let's get to the sort of denouement of the 1980s story, whereby Aldis knows she's pregnant. She's about to leave. Vega has packed up the Jeep, is warming up for her so she can go away and get away. And he wants her as far from Einar as possible as well, probably for creepy reasons. So the Jeep's there being warmed up. Aldis has been great. She's let Tobby out of the room that he's been locked in. He's claustrophobic, so that would have been awful. And she promises to help him escape, which could have been way more exciting, but wasn't. But he hides in the Jeep, and then Einar comes along. He gets in the Jeep, and you're like, oh, shit, are they all going to escape? But no.
Okay, I have questions here.
Okay.
So, first of all, what was Lilja doing putting the So Lilia comes along, puts
Yeah.
a rag into the exhaust so that the fumes come in the car, and the car is a poison gas box. So what was her aim there? 'Cause she didn't know that the boys are in there. She's
No.
trying to gas Aldous.
No, I think she was not realizing quite what that would do to the car. Her plan was to just like fuck the car up so that
she
Aldous
couldn't
couldn't escape. Yeah.
Oh, so she wasn't intending it to become a
death
carbon
trap.
monoxide death trap.
No, I don't think so, because she wanted Aldis's baby.
Okay.
Which is a trope in many films, but it doesn't get explored properly here. Like,
No.
I want to see Lilia going absolutely insane.
And she's just got a room with some cots in. And that's with mesh.
Yeah, some creepy mesh. Yeah. So she is horrible, but she's not murderous necessarily. She doesn't have murderous intentions.
Okay. Right. Next question.
Okay.
Einar gets in the car. Then he kills Toby.
This is-
Why?
I had this question.
Why?
Meg. Does he actually kill him? Because we don't see Toby actually die.
I think the inference is that
It
yes,
is.
he does. Yeah.
It's so interesting because that's something that could have been explored A, by the police, and then B, later on in the film. Maybe.
I guess he would have died from asphyxiation either way. So
They both would have died, unless if Toby had been breathing, he would have breathed in enough of the, toxic fumes that balanced out between the two boys. It wouldn't quite fill up their lungs, and then they open the Jeep and.
That is rubbish science. I don't think that's how it works.
No. Either way, both boys die in the car.
But yeah, that just seemed like a random, unnecessary plot element.
Again, you talked about Einar being this kind of...
It's proof that he's a
psychopath. Yeah, exactly. And he's made his girlfriend get an abortion that went horribly wrong. He's killed this guy.
He did it himself. The abortion that went wrong.
He's not a good person. It's just another way of showing that, I guess. Which really means I should have put two and two together about Run's kind of, psychopathic genes. But that's what happens, is they both die in the car. And the unsolved murder that Odin has been looking into, in the flashback, we learn about it.
Alla tíð hef ég séð aðra og ég hef aldrei beðið neitt fyrir sjálfa mig. Nema eitt. Drottinn gefur okkur ekki það sem við viljum. Drottinn gefur okkur það sem við þurfum. Og þess vegna getur þú ekki farið neitt í kvöld. Ég að fara. Nei. Ég búin að sjá til þess að jeppinn komist ekki neitt.
Hvað meinar?
Og trúðu mér, þú vilt ekki setjast þangað inn núna. Af því að reykurinn var mjög, mjög hættulegur. Fyrir barnið mitt. Tobbi!
But there is a bit, I guess, of narrative satisfaction, isn't there, that gassing in cars comes back.
Well, to be honest, it's only when we've just been discussing that I remembered that actually there were double gassing deaths. Yeah. So in the present, so that's sort of the result of the past. And the result of the present is that Run, she basically, in order to get her grief out, she thinks that she's being haunted by her mum because she's angry at her. Oh, why is she angry at you, Run? So the psychologist and Odin say to her, if you write her a letter, she'll stop being angry. So she writes the letter, she burns it. And then between Aldous and Odin, they basically figure out what had happened. And he confirms it by finding a diary tracing the writing. I don't know, what would you call that?
It's like brass rubbing.
Almost, rubbing, isn't it? Like you do on a gravestone. Ooh. And he finds out that actually Run killed her mum.
Classic.
Which, for me, was, I kind of guessed, but also the film, is it cheating us by showing us shots of her not pushing her off?
But does it show shots of her not pushing her off? Or
Yes, it does, because I went back in my second watch to double check that at the start of the film, we see Laura falling and we see Run inside the apartment.
But did she push her and then go back inside?
No, because we see what happens at the end, and there's no way those two things happened
simultaneously,
slow enough for her to get back inside.
I don't think I made that connection, you know.
This is what, and I always say this about how when I get to see a film more than once, is that it's easier to pick holes, but it is also nice to understand how the film is like telling the story. And I think in this case, maybe Erlingur Thoroddsen is trying to present this kind of unreliable narrator, because in the book, I think from what I can remember, it's narrated in the present by Odin and in the past by Aldis, I think. But you're never quite sure if, because you don't know exactly what they believe and what they saw. We only know what they tell us. Maybe this is an example of that. But then I suppose you're supposed to believe everything else that happens in the film. So it's a bit weird to get one moment that's not true and then the rest is all...
Well, I guess you could say, like the appearances of ghosts, that, again, that's not like a factual thing that we're seeing. That's a experience.
Yes, that's true.
And maybe Rune has created this false memory where she didn't kill, separated herself from the reality of killing her mum. But I agree, I think it's a bit of a cheat. But with those situations, like in this kind of drama, you're like, okay, so if it's not going to be as simple as she died by suicide, there's basically three people that it could have been. Odin, the mum / grandma, or the daughter. So you kind of do know that it's going one of those ways.
True, and also Rune has shown she's drawn a picture of someone looking up at the apartment, suggesting, it could have been Dad.
That he was drunk and he did it and he didn't remember.
That's it, yeah. Which actually is quite an interesting idea. It gets a line and it gets a conversation with his now girlfriend where they're like, could have been me. But do we ever believe that? I don't know. The other thing is, Aldis already knew. Why did she not just say anything?
Oh, did she? Oh, okay. So that takes us, she already knew, you think?
Well, yeah, because she says...
But she didn't say anything because she was protecting her granddaughter.
Oh, yeah, I suppose it's better that Odin doesn't know. He's the only other person that would care.
No, would care. Maybe the police. They might care.
Well, yeah, she's not going to tell the police on her granddaughter, is she?
But you mean, why didn't she tell Odin? I guess so. I guess they don't get on.
Yeah.
But I did feel like there could have been more of a moment. Odin's found some pretty earth-shattering news here, which is that his daughter is a murderer. Like, if I found out my daughter was a murderer, she is 6 months old, so it would be impressive. I'd be impressed by the skills. But that would be like, that's world-ending stuff. And he seemed a little bit nonchalant about it. Not nonchalant, but I think that could have been a bit of a bigger moment.
Yeah, for sure. But I guess he is more concerned that Rune is going to...
kill him.
Maybe. Or
which
just...
she does. So.
She does?
Well, she lures him. Again, like... Is she doing that because she knows he's found her out?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
She goes into her room and is like, oh, fuck, Dad's been in here.
I'm going to have
Better
to
kill
kill
him
him.
too.
Yeah. Okay, then at the final moment then, when we see the grandma going to confront her or soothe her, or
They embrace, don't they? It's
they embrace,
unclear.
and the camera pans down and there's the hammer under the bed. Who's going to kill who, or is that the point?
Oh, I just read it as Run is going to kill her grandmother.
I read it as the grandma's going to kill Run.
Really?
To, save herself and end the evil.
I mean, that's a much more, in inverted commas, positive ending that I did not consider. But yeah, I guess you're right.
Because why does Run need to kill the grandma?
Because she knows too.
Mm. But does Run know she knows?
I would say yes. How else did Odin find out? Or Odin wasn't even, as a detective, he's pretty bad with his own family. He was not even close to sniffing out that his daughter might have done it until Aldous had said, oh yeah, well, I was there that morning actually. Something like that. I don't know. It's not the most satisfactory of endings.
I quite liked that as a final shot though. You're like,
oh,
who's gonna get it?
But that's like, it's like the classic horror post-credit sting where something happens and you're like, shit, that's amazing, that's scary. And then you take 2 seconds to think about it and you're like, huh? How would that even work? So yeah, it is a good shot. And there are actually quite a lot of really amazing shots. I think this film it does look stunning. It is spooky. It's cold. And it's cold because there's the winter in 1980 in Iceland is fucking cold. It's not cold in the present. It's actually quite warm. And like the two timelines look different. And they both look equally impressive, but in their own way. And specifically, there are two shots that come to mind, which I was really impressed by. There's the one when Odin is in his basement at work, which I thought was going to lead to some sort of Ghostbusters style books moving around or ghost librarian or something, but didn't. But he's got a picture of Krokus on a Polaroid on his like book stack. And it's like, okay, he's got that there as reference. And the camera zooms in on it, and then suddenly it cut, you're in the past. I thought it was a very nice shot. And also there's a shot, is it at the end? I think it's near the end when Run goes back to her bedroom. For some reason, Dad's ripped half the picture of her mum, of the one she drew of her mum. And it's hanging on the mirror, and you get this like mirror image, half of Run's face, half of Laura's face. And like, nail on head, she's like her mum, or something.
There was another shot I really liked where the grandma's walking into the flat after Run, and it's really like creepy, and is there going to be a confrontation? And you get like a shot in which she's moving in, and in the mirror there's also a version of her moving in, but in a different light. And so it's like two of her moving, and because you're kind of on the lookout for who is creeping around where. I thought that looked very beautiful.
That is very cool. And actually, that's just reminded me of, we've not even, and this, we don't need to talk about it much, but Kristbjörg Kelt, who we saw in Driving Mum as the dead mum in the back of the car, she is the older version of Lilja. And she doesn't do a lot, but she's great. She's there in the care home, still deranged and still cutting herself, which, oh gosh.
Still deranged after all these years.
Yeah, do you think Paul Simon would have got quite so big with that song instead? But she's still alive, she's still creepy. And in my mind, I was just like, that was quite a tense scene.
Yeah.
And there are lots of moments in this film that are really tense, dreadful, beautiful to look at. I guess it just doesn't quite all mesh together. It's like, it's not the visuals that are the problem. It's the inability to delve deep into any of the aspects, I guess.
I would concur. I think it's the narrative threads and the characters don't quite, things move pretty fast.
Yeah.
And there's not much examination of some really interesting potential events and themes.
Well, There we are. Did you, based on your recollection, which I appreciate isn't good due to baby, did you prefer this or I Remember You?
I preferred I Remember You because I think that was more of a classic ghost story.
Mm-hmm.
And the ghosty elements were more real, weren't they, in that? As in, like, they were more supernatural.
Yeah, a little. But also the actual kind of crime twist, mystery, was a lot more straightforward and surprising for me. And, reading the books, I also feel the same. I think I prefer the book, The Undesired, to the film Kuldi, whereas the films of I Remember You, I think I would say pretty much on a par. But yeah, there we are. That's Kuldi. That is available now on Prime in the UK. Although I think you messaged me to say, I can't find it, which is a fair point. Because
do you know how I did find it? I just typed in cold Icelandic film.
Okay. Listeners,
because
that's
cold
what you need to do.
didn't get me anywhere.
Cold, you have to scroll for about 2 days, try to find it. Past things that don't even have the word cold in them. Like, what is Amazon playing at? But it's on there, so it's worth a watch because there's lots to like. It is a cool story. It's just, perhaps not as weighty as it could be. So yeah, that's Erlingur Thoroddsen's Kuldi. And before we go, I just thought, shout out to those other actors. You know how much I love making connections.
You do.
So we've already talked about a bunch of the actors, but we also saw Selma Björnsdottir. She played the younger Lilja. We saw her ages ago, series 1 of this podcast, in Under the Tree.
Yes.
Remember that? She was one of the arguing neighbours. She was brilliant in that. She also, interestingly, she doesn't act a lot because she's also a casting director.
Oh.
So, we covered Touch last year, Baltasar Kormákur's film. She was the casting director on that. She's the casting director on the TV series Katla, which is on Netflix, and a bunch of other things. So
she thought she'd cast herself in this one.
Hey. We had Bjorn Stefansson as Vega. He was in Rift, so he obviously likes working with Erlingur Thoroddsen. We had Birgir Dagur Bjarkason, who was in Beautiful Beings. He played one of the boys at the home in a much smaller role. And then also Mikael Karber, who played Einar. We saw him, or rather you didn't see him, in When the Light Breaks, which Natalie and I watched at LFF, but which we haven't covered in full on this podcast yet, but we will because it is available to watch in the UK. So we will do that at some point. So yeah, congratulations to everyone involved. It's always nice to see familiar faces, and big up a bunch of people who are now in Hollywood films.
Big up.
We'll be back again at some point, whenever we can fit it around our busy lives. But there are plenty of things that we can do, which is exciting. So I'll see you soon.
See you soon.
So there we are. More Johannes Haukur Johanneson, more Yrsa chills, and more horrific goings-on at Icelandic institutions. Now I want to know which you preferred, I Remember You or Kuldi? And is Johannes worth watching in He-Man? What type of film would you rather see him in? Big Hollywood franchises or smaller Icelandic projects? There's room for both, I know, and it's amazing to see Icelandic stars breaking out. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Blue Sky, where we're at Kvikmyndapod, that's KVIKMYNDAPOD, or even chuck us the cost of a coffee over on Ko-fi. That's ko-fi.com/Kvikmyndapod, if you've enjoyed listening. We'll be back before long. See you then. Tack og bless. Thanks and goodbye.